avoidant attachment style in childhood says everyone else is a mess. Don't let anyone in close. Emotional intimacy is a lie. Guys on Twitter argue if you ever show emotion from your wife, she will walk out the front door and cheat on you with your best friend on the front lawn 3 seconds after you have had a feeling. And that's just what she's going to do to you, as if that's what women are going to do. That's how you get attachment issues. In fact, it turns out, is to simply throw cash at your children and never hug them or say that you love them and only criticize them. That's not providing for their stability or their safety or their well-being in this world. Masculinity is about providing for the needs of those that you have chosen to take responsibility for. If you're going to lead, then you are responsible. And you don't get to pick and choose which needs you meet. You must meet all of them.
How do we navigate through that courtship to know if it's real and if it's actually something we should pursue?
OG Mastery, the original gangsta, god and goddess, all coming into mastery. We're coming into you. This is where we talk business, sex, relationships, money, health, entrepreneurship, and self-awareness. Now your host, Robyn Linn.
Navigating relationships, navigating marriage, and our attachment patterns. How do we do that? I am here with the wonderful coach, Adam Smith. Adam, welcome to OG Mastery.
Thank you, Robyn. It is so good to be here. I'm looking forward to this.
The emotional component of attachment style. What had you interested initially in getting involved with this process of coaching?
Absolutely. So I was a licensed psychotherapist for many years, and I specialized in trauma, severe traumas. I was the person quite literally at the end of the hallway that the clinic director would send the hardest cases to that other therapists had given up on. And what I noticed in the majority of cases, whether it was more of an easier cases, they would say more just general anxiety or the deeper traumas, both of those people typically had been very disempowered in their childhood. They had been taught that nobody else was going to play fair with them or work in good faith with them to meet their needs, even just to have any kind of basic cooperation with them during a conflict and take care of them or form any mutual connection with them at all. It was all going to be selfish. So these people had learned either to knuckle under and be afraid and believe that they didn't deserve love. And so they went out, they had awful experiences, and they just said, there's nothing I can do. I'm trapped. The trauma is real. It's just going to keep happening. I'm stuck and it's hopeless. Or they would go out and say, no one will ever be kind to me. I have to take control. And they would be the person who took control of relationships, whether that was to maintain total isolation with a wall between them and other people, or even sometimes to become a little bit aggressive and take control of other people during relationships and take their empowerment away from them. So when I saw that pattern underlying all of these diagnoses, I knew that there was something there and I had to study it. So I dove into attachment theory, which most therapists never learn about, unfortunately. And it felt like the answer to everything. So I wanted to take that wide and teach as many people as I could so everybody can get their power back.
It's beautiful. It's hard because we never want to blame a child. We always want to look to how they were raised and the environment. How do we work with these wounds and traumas, and instead of feeling ashamed to bring them into the relationship, how do we actually start to work with them in relationship?
That's a great question. So I will say this. I have 4 children myself, and my wife and I were expecting our 5th child next month. So I've seen a lot firsthand how it is when you form these relationships with children, how you're teaching them. They look to you to understand what's okay, if their needs will get met, how manipulative they have to be to play games to get their needs met. If they deserve your love, if they deserve your time, and you have to send those correct messages. And those are experiences that the child's having. So our nervous systems and all those experiences, those painful things that we have later in life, they didn't just form internally with us. They formed through external experiences with other people. The answer then is to form new experiences with healthier people who will give us the understanding that we need, that will lead our nervous system to a new belief. That's the answer there. So experiential learning theory is what that's called. And it comes down to, how can you as an adult connect to the right people, not the perfect people, but the right people who are going to be loving and caring for you, and have scary experiences that then desensitize yourself to the fear, because you learn, I am safe and I am loved and I don't have to be this afraid anymore. And that's why I've got coaching clients that come into me, sometimes in their 70s even, and they have a lifetime of fear and a lifetime of painful recurring experiences that have told them to be afraid, be afraid, be afraid. When you identify, number one, the key factors that make somebody else safe, the key factors that make someone safe, and number two, the key factors that make them unsafe, the red flags and green flags. I know I was looking at your material just this morning to refresh myself, and I remember you saying like, "This is a red flag. This is a red flag," waving the red. And it's beautiful. We need that, and exactly what you're doing, and the green flags as well. Both need to be there. Am I getting positive signals, negative signals? What's the balance point? And then number three, how do they respond if I bring up red flags that I see? Do they take me seriously? Do they listen? Do they get defensive? Do they say, wow, you know what? I understand that. Okay, let's talk through this. And they cooperate during conflict. Number four, you learn to cooperate during conflicts with other people. When you can do those four things and track those four things about other people, you can have those safe, loving experiences that reprograms your whole nervous system, which is really where the magic is.
Mm. How do we navigate as a partner who's maybe has this trauma, has these emotions? I know it's more of a feminine trait to be, I just want to let go with my emotions with my man, and I just want him to be strong enough to hold me. I don't want to have to be smiling and at peace every fucking second of the day. Like, so how do we find that balance? Is it a balance? Does it have to be one way or the other?
The element of masculinity is one that protects and one that provides, right? It's both about your personal sovereignty as a man, that you are sovereign over yourself so that you are stable and disciplined enough to then be able to take on responsibility and care for others. Responsibility and personal sovereignty, two pieces that must go together. If you only have part of your responsibility and say, my only responsibility to you is financial. You have a home, that is it. That is all you deserve from me is money. There is nothing else that is important. It is only cash and a home. And if you have that, you have no right to complain. And I have no other responsibilities to you except for that. That's abdicating the actual responsibility of real safety, emotional caretaking and nurturing and feeding. You are not feeding your family the way that they need to be fed, whether it's your wife or your children. Again, I've got 4 children myself and a wife. Imagine if I just threw money at my children every single day, but never hugged them. I'd be a pretty terrible father. That's how you get attachment issues. In fact, it turns out, is to simply throw cash at your children and never hug them or say that you love them and only criticize them. That's not providing for their stability or their safety or their well-being in this world. That's not helping them form healthy nervous systems. That's not helping them form their prefrontal cortex with decision-making. It leaves a host of issues that your child then has to try to clean up as an adult because you have failed as a father, or in this case, as a husband or as a partner. Masculinity is about providing for the needs of those that you have chosen to take responsibility for. If you're going to lead, then you are responsible. And you don't get to pick and choose which needs you meet. You must meet all of them. So, the Andrew Tates of the world, I don't know him personally, so I'm not going to call him out, but people like that, men who take that responsibility and say, okay, I am not going to have any emotional connection or vulnerability or openness. I'm not going to deal with your feelings or your openness. I am simply going to draw a line between us. I'm going to throw money at you, and in return, I get sex and smiles. Those are the two things I want from you: sex and smiles. Other than that, that's done. I mean, that's the girlfriend experience with a prostitute is really what that is. So where that's stemming from is usually avoidant attachment style. Avoidant attachment style in childhood says everyone else is a mess. Don't let anyone in close. Emotional intimacy is a lie. They just get in close enough to stab you and betray you. Don't let people get that close. Women will want that from you, but it's fake and it's never real. Guys on Twitter argue if you ever show emotion from your wife, she will walk out the front door and cheat on you with your best friend on the front lawn 3 seconds after you have had a feeling. And that's just what she's going to do to you, as if that's what women are going to do. So men, through masculinity, must have personal sovereignty, which means do not be afraid of intimacy. Fix your attachment so you're not avoidant and running away, so you're not living in a lie, so that you can actually meet the emotional and mental needs of the people that you are taking care of, that you're leading, that you're responsible for, your wife and your children. If you cannot do that, then you have not stepped into mature masculinity. You have juvenile masculinity, and that's what I would say.
Thank you. That was brilliant. I had this experience traveling through Europe for 2.5 years, and my coming back into maybe more of a traditional dating experience and then looking at other relationships, I can definitely see where women are really wanting to proclaim that feminine empowerment, where they really, we really want to be feminine, and we really want to be in the lover energy, and we really, in order to have that, we need the balance of the opposite polarity, which is we need
Mm.
him to be more masculine than us, not more feminine than us. How do we work with these attachments? Maybe you can share what are the attachments and how do we navigate through them when we're in these situations, how this plays out with this kind of bipolarity of masculine feminine, where he's a little bit more feminine and we're a little bit more masculine. And we really want to flip that, but we also want balance. We also want him to understand what being feminine is. We also want him to understand, like you said, the emotional component. We need him to be well-rounded and diverse, not just So what are the components of the attachments, and how do we navigate them in situations like this?
Sure. So that's two different questions, and those are excellent questions, both of them. I have a tremendous number of men coming to me right now asking, Adam, how can I become more masculine for my partner? Because frankly, women can't teach men how to be masculine. Women can encourage men. Women can foster the desire to be masculine, and a good feminine woman does that. She calls that natural instinct to become more masculine, to be a grown, mature man. She calls that out and coaxes that out of him. But you can't teach him to be masculine because otherwise you're stepping forward and being masculine, and then he will just simply fall apart. So yes, he needs to learn that from other men. His father, his grandfather, his uncles, they were supposed to initiate him into that, and we've lost that tremendously. Men have been the male networks are obliterated at this point. So we are rebuilding them. We're in the process of that. I think there's a revival of masculinity coming very soon, a rebirth, but he needs to learn that that's even possible and what is possible. And then he needs to free himself from those shackles of fear that are holding him back. That's really what's holding him back, is the fear of getting hurt. That's the attachment. So, attachment
Mm.
issues form when we're children. Again, we develop anxious attachment style. For example, if we believe other people don't love us because we don't deserve to be loved. So if the man has an underlying belief that there's something wrong with him, that is unlovable, that he's a fraud, that he's a fake, that he will never be able to rise up to this point, and if he tries, he will be found out and abandoned. If that's his fear, that's anxious attachment style. This can lead to nice guy syndrome, men asking a lot of permission, men trying to do nice things for you and then get things in return secretly and hoping you'll reward them with a pat on the head kind of thing. These are the men who do chores trying to get sex. This is very much that pathway, and it's so effeminate that it's not even feminine. Feminine energy isn't even the problem. It's inappropriate feminization of a man. The effeminacy is the denial of masculinity. So that effeminacy is a big turnoff for women because it makes you his mother. You say, "All right, you're a child, I will take care of you." And that's not comfortable for most women to do that. The other aspect of that is avoidant attachment style. Everybody in his life was chaotic. Maybe his mom was more hurtful, very critical. Maybe she was very smothering and he hated it and resented it. Maybe a number of things could have gone wrong, but he has learned other people are not to be trusted when they get in too close. So he will keep everybody right here, and he will give you all kinds of good, warm, wonderful feelings at the beginning to make you feel good, because he only understands relationships as an exchange of feelings, good feelings. I will give you this good feeling, you will give me that good feeling. I will give you lots of money, you will in turn smile and give me sex. That's all that they understand, is that transactional system of positive feelings. And if you ever have less than that, they start to take it very personally and they get angry and they often go and cheat. Very often, very often. It's one of the biggest patterns of male cheating is that right there. So those are the two real aspects you need to look out for. There is a blend of the two, where men who've been hurt even more than that, usually they fear themselves and other people at the same time. So they're hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold. If you
Mm.
love him and he pulls out and tries to escape, and then you step back and then he feels abandoned, so he rushes at you to climb on top of you, please don't leave me. And you say, okay. So you give him a hug, then he says, oh, I know. And he jumps out the window. Like that hot and cold is the disorganized style. It's only about 2 to 5% usually have that, but
I
it
got
is
one of
there.
those.
Yeah, and that's harder. That's harder because they've been so wounded that now it's hard for them. They can't trust themselves. Their
Yeah.
gut instinct is now completely enveloped by fear, so they don't have a gut instinct anymore. It's just overwhelmed with fear. It's
Mm.
peeling back those number one, peeling back those layers and helping them understand that they are afraid and it's okay to be afraid, that doesn't mean anything bad's going to happen. It's helping them to get a spotter so they can check in with a spotter. And that's something I do a lot with my coaching clients. They text me, Adam, am I supposed to be afraid right now? Well, what's your wife doing? Well, she just cooked me a hamburger. Well, probably don't be afraid. It's probably not poison. Oh, okay. Okay. Are you sure? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, and then the women will text me, Adam, I think my boyfriend is going to leave me. Okay. Why do you think that? Well, he hasn't texted me in about 2 hours. Okay. Where is he? Well, he's at work, but usually he texts me on his lunch break. Have you considered texting him? Well, I'm afraid he'll leave me if I do that. Why don't you
Oh.
trust him a little bit? Send him a text. Just say,
Mm.
hey, looking forward to talking to you the next time around. See what he says. And they say, okay. And then they do. They get a text back. They get reassurance. That disorganized style especially needs a lot of reassurance. And as they get that,
Mm.
they start to trust. But my advice is don't be his assurance. Have somebody else be his spotter. Have a male coach or a therapist or a male role model or a mentor be that so that you don't have to constantly deal with his checking in. It will
Mm.
feel like you're mothering a child because that's what you do for children. You help them with constant
Mm.
check-ins, but have him get a male role model who will guide him into real masculinity, into authentic masculinity. Have him get somebody he can check in with continuously. Have him get a coach. If he doesn't do therapy, do coaching.
Mm.
Have him step in and get somebody who can assist him. That's the number one thing I can say. He needs to be guided in that way.
Mm. Men need men that they look up to, and you use the word effeminate, and I'd love for you to expand on that piece. And you had mentioned the gut. When maybe we've lost that sensitivity to our gut. If a man is listening to this, how does he take control now? What does he do? What are his steps? And how do you coach him through that sense of self where it's like intuition, instinct, yes, feminine is good for you. Feminine is good for you. How do we talk him through that piece?
hmm So I will say this one more time for the guys who need to hear it. The key element, the beginning element of masculinity is personal sovereignty. That leads into responsibility for those that you take responsibility for, that you choose to take that responsibility for, wife, children, a business that you run, the employees that you oversee, whatever it might be. But personal sovereignty is the core of everything. If you don't have personal sovereignty as a man, you do not have masculinity. Now, personal sovereignty doesn't just mean I get to do whatever I want. Personal sovereignty means I make my decisions. You cannot let your fear and limits make your decisions. You cannot let irrational childhood fears and hurts and traumas make your decisions.
Mm.
You cannot maintain a functioning relationship or family or business or anything and be a reasonable leader if you are governed by fear, because everyone below you then has to fear your moments of lapse where you are giving in to your fear. If you do not govern yourself by your honor, your code, your integrity, loyalty, love, and genuine care for those that you are taking care of and leading, if you do not do that, you are unreliable. Okay, famous example of this throughout human history. One of the earliest cities was governed by a man named Hammurabi, and we have Hammurabi's code. We still have it to this day, and he ruled this city, and he posted his laws around the city on giant pillars. Okay, that multiple languages, each side of the pillar had different languages on it and described his code. If you do this, this will be the consequence. If you do this, this will be the consequence. Everything was laid out very clearly. So if you chose to live in his city, these were the rules. And if you followed these rules, you were under his protection. He would care for you, he would nurture you. You were his people. If
Mm.
you broke these rules, you were still his people, but you were then going to be under these rules and governed by them, and you weren't going to like it. So you could choose to leave. He didn't keep you locked in the city. You could leave and refuse to be under his care, but everything was clear. And the reason that worked was because he didn't fly off the handle with fear spikes and anger and blow up at people and say, well, I'm too bad. I know the law says that, but I've changed it for this hour. So I'm going to. He had to,
Mm.
he himself was governed by that behavior. He was disciplined. This is the essence of masculinity. Masculinity creates shelters. It's on the outside. It creates walls, protective walls that don't keep in, they keep out. They
Mm.
protect, they nurture. Feminine fills those walls and makes it into a home. And it also flows between the different structures that men build and binds them together in this network. So men build structures, women fill those structures and connect those structures. That's how we're supposed to work together. And if a man makes his structures unreliable, women will not be feminine and they will not build within his structure. They'll sort of sit there, they'll hope, they'll wait, and then they'll leave somewhere else that's more stable because they just can't live somewhere where the walls are constantly collapsing on them all the time and bricks are hitting them in the head. They don't want that. They want safety because you can't do anything in a structure that's unsound. Does that make sense?
I just got the chills. Yeah. You bring up 2 points in my practice with Taoism. There's a practice we infuse guarding the gate, which is the senses that can deter us from our path. And I always say, in order to have the guarding of the gates be my practice, I need to have awareness of what my path is. And you brought up that clarity in the directiveness. And I think I look at it a bit as far as age ranges go, because I see traditionally, guys in their 20s versus 30s versus 40s versus 50s versus after 60, 70. There's different waves of, the conqueror versus I've already built my empire. I already have my wealth. My family's taken care of. I'm good. I don't stress. I don't need to work. I get to serve. I get to be a philanthropist in the community. And I've dated men that are that way. And I just, I say I don't do that because they have money. The money is a byproduct of their ability to be so clear in their vision, and no matter what, they're just on that path and they will stick to that path. They'll change how they approach the path, but the path doesn't change. The way they approach it does. And I find what you're saying, most guys, they don't have the confidence or they haven't developed the skills. I developed in my 20s the skills. So when I meet a man who has as well, it's like, oh, you're a match. It feels so, thank you. When I haven't met a guy like that, I feel unfortunately a bit superior, and I don't like it because I don't want to feel that, but it's a natural thing that happens where now I'm with a guy that puts me up on a pedestal. Wait, I want to be with you. I don't want to be up here. I don't want you to be down. What are we doing? And I find a lot of women get stuck in that role and, like you said, get into transactional relationships because it's like, well, I'm not homeless. I can eat whatever I want. I can go shopping whatever I want. I can go on vacations whenever I want. And I'm used to the lifestyle. And it's like, and then they see other women that are struggling, single mothers with no money. And it's like, well, thank God that I'm this and not that. And it's so extreme. I think for myself and my girlfriends and the clients I've worked with, we're not in those extremes. We're more in the middle. And it reminds me of the Buddha's path, which is, to proclaim, these are my virtues, as you mentioned. These are my values. These are the deal breakers. You don't smoke cigarettes. If I'm with you, you don't smoke cigarettes. Or if it is, it's like ceremonial. It's purposeful. It's intentional. But you're not a chain smoker, and that's a deal breaker. And so I think it's so valuable to list these virtues by what we stand by. And if someone shows up in our life and we throw away the things we stand by because they're giving something to us that we want, I think that's where the damage begins.
That's women trading away their fulfillment for perceived safety from threats that they've been running from since childhood. Just the same as men can have attachment issues, women can too. And sometimes women don't believe that they deserve better. Sometimes women don't believe other people are capable of giving them better. I've had plenty of coaching clients come in where the man has cheated, and he asked the woman, "Aren't you angry at me?" And she says, "No, all men cheat. I knew you would eventually. It's just kind of picking it up from here." And to some extent, you're almost like, well, okay, it's good that you can be compassionate to your partner, but like, wait a minute. Is this really all that you think that you deserve? This is really your level of standard for a partner, is that they're going to
Mm.
just do whatever they want and you're just going to deal with it. And that's not where we want to go. We want to fix that too. Women don't have to settle for bad treatment. And that's not me saying that women need to be goddesses on pedestals, because the problem with being a goddess on a pedestal is that eventually the follower gets angry that you're not meeting his prayers. So you don't want that either, but women want that connection, like you said, to be equals, to be connected, to be bonded. So
Mm.
that's where we need to go. Everybody needs to fix those attachment issues so that they can cooperate during conflicts, so that they can share the truth, they can work with values, and they can build a relationship that's fulfilling for both sides, truly fulfilling.
Mm. So, in the choosing or selection process, and I always think it's fascinating to look at courtship versus relationship. There's the courtship phase, and that, like, how do we know, how do we enjoy it? Because it's wonderful, but how do we also move forward with that to determine after the 3 month, I say 3 to 6 months, how do we really see, do I need to live with the guy in order to know? Do I need to see them 3 times a week at least? Do I need to go through certain experiences with them and put them through challenges in order to really see how they're going to handle a life with me before I consider having babies or getting married with them? So how do we navigate through that courtship to know if it's real and how it's real and if it's actually something we should pursue?
Hmm. Great question. Conflict. Conflict is the answer to all of that, because people can be whoever they want when things are peaceful, when resources are plentiful, when everything's calm, when they can play any game they want. People can be anybody that they want, which is why the first 6 to 7 months, the research shows, is usually pretty fake. It's because of the attachment issues. First 6 to 7 months, right? Now you can cut through that in a number of ways. Conflict is the answer. So this does not mean you have to pull out a knife and threaten his life. You don't have to do that. But see, number one, where he's at in conflict with other people, right? Storytelling. Get stories from him. Hey, tell me a story about your family. Tell me a story about your friends. Tell me a story about something you're proud of. Tell me a story about something that frustrated you. Tell me stories. His stories will tell you so much more than just a list of facts. Where do you work? What do you do? Where does your family live? Tell me stories. He will give you so much additional information through those stories. So number one, stories of conflicts. There will always be conflicts inside those stories. That's what makes it a story. How does he handle conflicts? How does he talk about people he was with in the past? How does he talk about his exes? If every single ex was a horrible nightmare, well, that tells you something, because it's unlikely that every ex has been a horrible nightmare, number one. And if they are, man, his picker is way off. And number two, it's likely that he's not taking any ownership of his side of issues. So he should be saying, you know what? We've had troubles. Here's where I've fallen short in relationships in the past. Here's a little bit where I've been hurt before. Here's what I would like to see in future relationships. That's a healthier outlook. That's a much healthier outlook for somebody discussing their past relationships. Conflict. And then see what he's like when he's in conflict with other people. Watch him, observe him, see if he opens up to you about conflict. Hey, what's going on? You seem stressed out lately. I'm blah, 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 whatever it might be. Does he share about conflict with you? And then how
Mhm.
does he navigate it? Does he work cooperatively with other people? Does he solve the problem with people? Does he shove people out of the way so he can solve it alone? Does he shove you out and doesn't want to tell you about conflict? Does he hide conflict from you? What does he do? And then when you have conflicts with him, introduce things that create conflict. Again, it doesn't have to be bad conflict.
Mhm.
Hey, I encourage women to do this. Tell them up front fairly soon that if you are looking for one, you're looking for a committed relationship someday. And put that on the table. You don't have to say, marry me tomorrow. You just say, just a heads up, so we're on the same page. I would eventually like a committed relationship. Is that something you're open to eventually or not? If so, great. We can continue. We'll see if we're the right match. If not, that's okay. We'll finish our dinner, well, high five, we'll go separate ways. But thank you for your time, right? Introduce topics that bring conflict, including when you're going to start having sex. Hey, when am I comfortable doing that? Are you comfortable with that too? And then see if he respects that boundary. See if he's able to even tell you what his boundaries are. Some nice guys,
Mhm.
unfortunately, will just agree with you on everything and they won't have any boundaries or any rules or anything at all, because they'll say, well, no, I just want to be right here for you and make you happy. And they'll completely hide and cover any boundaries they might have. So How does he handle conflict? That is the number one thing you must observe very carefully. Look for openness, look for cooperation, look for honesty, look for consistency, look for stability, look for discipline. Those are the things that you need to be looking for. That's my answer. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have two experiences of those. One in a partner where nothing was his fault or responsibility. And I can attest to what you're saying. Whenever there was a conflict, he would shut intimacy down between us, and I would get so scared. And then as soon as there was more money and there wasn't the stress of whatever, he then would open up. And it was only, if this, then that, if this, then that. And it was ping pong, and I got exhausted playing ping pong. It's so exhausting. And it's malnourishing as well. And I have had the other experience where I have shared vulnerably my emotions, and he'll come up and say, something seems off this morning. Are you okay? Do you need something? What's up? What do you want to share? Anything? It's like, yeah, I do. It's like, great. I'm here. What's going on? Oh, I feel better now just by you just asking me, and I don't even remember what was wrong. It's sweet. And then I've also had the nice guy without the boundaries, where it's like, whatever you want, whatever you need, I'm here for you. And it's like, I don't feel you, dude. I could be by myself all day, but like, and to be integrated with ourselves, like you mentioned, sovereign and clear and intentional. And you mentioned before, it's like the masculine's the container. He provides the space and she fills it with the energy. And if he is convoluted and mixed around and everything's kind of uncertain in his own field, and he doesn't have space in his container, then there's no reason to have a relationship. Is there something you could share with men to help them get to a point where, yes, they're working on that sovereignty of self and their own sense of masculine, but how do they create that space for the woman to let her in, to let space in for a relationship? Where do they need to be, and where do they want to focus?
So I look to our oldest human stories for answers of this because they understood the feminine and the masculine very well. It kept them alive. So, in our oldest human stories, if a man wants to marry a beautiful princess or a queen or whoever she may be, she typically sets him a task. And this is not her being demanding. This is actually her fulfilling her feminine role of saying, I am showing you that I will tell you during our relationship what I need from you. Your job is to go get it and show me that you are willing to go get it and do the work for me, and that you are capable of going and getting it to do the work for me. The man sets off on his quest. He kills the dragon. He brings her its head on the table. And she is not at that point the prize. The prize is actually the strength that he gained through this, and the confidence and the understanding and the masculinity and the honor that he gained through the quest. That is his prize. What he has done is demonstrate that he is ready to be a partner to her. She, in turn, demonstrates she's ready to be a partner to him, number one, by telling him clearly what she needs from him. And then number two, by reciprocating that love and care for him by saying, yes, I will keep my word to you and be loyal to you. It's the feminine and masculine dance of sending him on a quest. So, women out there right now, if you're paired with a man who is not masculine, the best thing you can do is send him on a quest. Be very clear about what you need, and then tell him to go get it. And you are not his prize to be won at the end. He is demonstrating if and when he's going to be capable of being with you and being your partner. He needs to go on that quest, right? He needs to do that. So don't be afraid to send him on that quest. Most women don't do that until they say, I'm done, and I've been done for 5 years, and I'm filing for divorce. Most women don't start the quest and demand a quest until then. Demand a quest. I cannot be with you unless you really explore your masculine self and you do your healing around your attachment so that we can have honest conversations together and work to resolve problems as a team. If you do that, I can stay with you. If you cannot, I cannot stay with you. So go on your quest, gather those skills, learn how to do them, and then come back and we will be together and we will be masculine and feminine together. If you refuse and you just say you're going to do it and then you drag your feet for a month or 2 months, I'm sorry, but I'm taking that as a no and you're refusing to not go on your quest. So then we will be done. Be clear, be directive, give him the quest. Number one. Number two, for men who then have to go on the quest, if women were going to solve your problem, they would have solved it by now. Women cannot solve your problem because they can't make you be a man. Men are meant to sharpen against sharp objects. Men are like weapons and iron. We get forged with hammers and fire. Women are not hammers and fire. Women are water and gentleness. So you need hammers and fire. You need to be around people who have hammers and fire. You need to go on your quest. You need to face your fears. You need to do those difficult things with a mentor who will show you and model that for you so that you can grow into manhood. This is as old as Beowulf, it's as old as Gilgamesh, it's as old as the oldest tales that we have records of. Follow their steps and become a masculine man who is not afraid of dragons. And when you come home with a big dragon's head, then you will be rewarded with love and intimacy. She's not the reward. The intimacy, the love, and the partnership is that reward because that's what you've earned. That's what she's earned as well. Build that. Become masculine, and she can become feminine.
I call it befriend your beast.
There you go.
I love it. I sent the last two guys that I was dating on the quest. Now I'm at a point where, is it sustainable? Is it who you are? Is it, is it something that you've integrated or that you're now working with as you? And I think that's the challenge is when we invite a man and provoke him and evoke him into that state of awakening his masculine. And I love how I think our challenge is the trust. Oof. Is that really who you are? Are you just that because you wanted to win me, and the prize is the intimacy, but can I trust this is you? And maybe, you can conclude on this piece. Is it now just about wait and see, work with the energy, give it some space and time, or is it just like an instinct? Oh no, woman, no. Women knows. Man just knows.
In the old days when a man would declare himself for something, he would get a huge badge, smack it, sew it into his chest. He'd have like a cloak covered in that color. His cape would be covered in it. His horse would be covered in it. He'd get tattoos of it all over himself so that nobody on earth could ever possibly mistake what he stood for. And then he would live and die by that code. And if your man is not speaking in that manner, saying, this is who I am, look at my horse and my cloak, if he's not doing that and living to it and excited for it, especially after a month, 2 months, he's growing, it should be who he is. It shouldn't be things he does. And it shouldn't be, I'm going to be the right man for you. That's like nails on a chalkboard for a woman. I am going to be who I am because I am ashamed not to be, but I am so fulfilled when I am this man. That's what you need to be listening to. Almost a religious conversion to total overwhelming, this is who I'm going to be and I'm never going back ever. And then he just keeps going and you're trying to like slow him down because he's going so hard in that direction. That's what you need to see. Anything shy of that is probably not going to hold.
I love it. I am experiencing that. And I think, as you mentioned before, sometimes we're like, oh, I didn't even know that was possible. And I think we do sometimes accept bad behavior because of that. And I think what you're sharing with us here today is important to do our own work, to work with coaches, to work with people that can inspire, to hang out with maybe elders or people that are more mature than us that we can learn from and grow from, and not always need to be the tough, strongest, smartest person in the room, but really look to surrounding ourselves with people who are 10 steps ahead of us so that we are able to grow and evolve. And I think doing the work with partner, as you mentioned, involves a sense of flow, working with each other. But mainly, I feel the message you shared is about a common ground of our values, what we stand for as a team together, and to make the relationship more about what we're co-creating and less about the me, me, me.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. When a man goes on his quest and comes back and he's covered in his colors and he says, "This is my new quest. This is my crusade. This is what I stand for. This is who I'm going to be. Will you join me on this?" And she says, "Yes." And she puts on his color, and together you've got the same wonderful color, the same values. And now you go forward together on that quest, achieving things, building things, founding your kingdom, everything you're going to do together. And it's unified so that your legacy is unified. That's what you're co-creating, is this wonderful legacy in this world, and that's what you're supposed to do. That's how it's supposed to work. When it fits together beautifully.
It's beautiful, Adam. Thank you so much. I love this conversation. How do people find you? Where do they go to work with you to learn more about what you offer?
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'm Adam Lane Smith, the attachment specialist. My website is adamlanesmith.com. I'm also on Instagram at attachment adam. I'm on YouTube as at attachment adam. I have a tremendous number of new videos coming very quickly about masculinity. Mature, secure masculinity is what I'm calling it. It's the rebirth of masculinity. I have a lot of videos on YouTube calling men to be accountable and masculine for themselves and for their partners. So women out there watching this, or men listening to this, if you want to consume that together and learn and grow together and have a conversation about the role of masculine and feminine, check out my YouTube channel.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us on OG Mastery. Looking forward to connecting again soon. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
OG Mastery, the original gangsta, God and Goddess, all coming into mastery. We're coming into you.